Presenting the Brick House Podcast. The Brick House. Here comes the boom.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Brick House Podcast. My name is Matthew Brick, and I'm super excited for you guys today. I'm glad that you guys are tuning in, listening, watching in, and I have someone here who, man, is a G. I love him. He's awesome. Pierce Bell, how are you?
Good. How are you, Matthew?
I'm good. I'm glad that you're here. You're on the Brick House Podcast.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Been a long time.
Yeah, we've been talking about, hey, coming or having you come on. You would ask me like, bro, is it gonna be this week? And I'd be like, yeah. And then it just never happened. But
You would ghost me.
I don't know about that. But he's on here now. And so I'm just glad. Why not to start us off? Kind of like most episodes I do. But just tell us a little bit of who you are. Who is Pierce Bell? What do you love? What are you into? Things like that. Anything that comes to mind.
My name is Pierce Bell. I go to Valor Christian High School with Matthew. Things I participate in is track, rugby, and then football usually. I guess that's all to know about me.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Okay. You know, Pierce just shared, I guess, apparently everything that he has to share with us. But no, there's a lot to Pierce. Pierce is genuine. He's cool. He's a good guy. So why not first start us off like, well, I'm gonna just ask you plainly. Where are you right now? Like, where do you find yourself like being right now in your faith? What's going on in your life? Like, what are the high? Well, yeah. First off, start off with this. What are like the highs in your life? What are some good things going on in your life?
For me, some good things right now, I would say is probably like, grades are better. Other than math.
Yeah, I hear that.
Grades are better. I say my position with God is way better than what it used to be, especially since I've been in a Bible study, as you know, for like everybody, and Father-Son Bible study, and I say that's helped me a lot. As you know, I learned that it's very like bad to have silence and brokenness, right?
Mm.
So I guess that's helped me a lot with that, and it's also helped me like seek first the kingdom of God.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard thing for me to do, not just like do my way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's also like hard to like trust God in certain areas, and I'll say it's like me setting aside time for God has definitely helped me improve that. Like having a designated time just for God and just for me and Him, because you can't go through life. You can go through life without God, but it's not really gonna be good, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say that's my high right now.
That's good. So you're walking with God more than you
Mhm.
have been. What kind of like shifted that for you? What prompted the change per se? Like maybe I'm getting the sense that you said that you were like not so close with God and now you are getting closer with God. Like what changed that?
Probably realizing that the person you're talking to in your head is not God if he always agrees with you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I would say a lot of times I was in a lukewarm position where sometimes, I'll be high, sometimes I'll be low, but like when something happened, like I would like try to really pull on them. And like it's really not fair. It's not fair to myself, but it's more not fair to God
Yeah.
that I only talk to him when something bad is happening. So I'll say that's the main thing. Um, but I've definitely gotten closer with God over these past year, I would say. I'm hoping to get baptized a second time.
Okay.
Since I got baptized when I was little, so you don't really understand the true meaning. But I'll say that's that. If that answers your question, that's really all.
No, you answered it and answered it more. That's awesome. Um, I'd love for you to kind of tell us a little bit about this, like father dad Bible study. Um, like what prompted you to get in it? What is it? Like what are you talking about? What are some lessons maybe you've gone from it? Things like that. Kind of expand and like let us in on what is this that you're doing.
So the Father-Son Bible study is basically like all my best friends, or
Mhm.
like really people I'm really close with at school or don't even go to my school. So every Tuesday we meet somewhere. I got a food place, fathers and sons, and we have a Bible study. So we just started it like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's like honestly already really changed my life. Especially hearing the other people's testimonies and like how you can be so broken, but God can make you so new. And hopefully like after we hear everybody's testimonies, we're gonna start inviting more people in, you know, to like make the group bigger. Cause we actually have a contract that we had to sign, and one of the agreements on the contract is that you bring 2 people in every year, new into the what's it? The
In the
Bible
group,
study. Yeah,
yeah.
the group, the Bible study. And but honestly right now it's like I would say like 4 kids. 4 kids, their fathers. And there's this one father, it's like I heard his testimony was really moving cuz like he like experienced everything that we're going through as high schoolers, like the drugs, the temptation, the alcohol and stuff like that. And he experienced it all, and like it really showed how just like if you do those things doesn't make you any less. Doesn't make God love you any less,
Mm.
right? So he did that, and then like he had a happy marriage, had all the money in the world, but then like he didn't have God. And he like saw that all crashing down, and like he's rebuilding himself now and stuff like that. And he like just like 20 months in rehab, got out,
Yeah.
stuff like that, changed his life. And
Wow.
that's just shout out to you, Brian. That's like a really big thing. So
Yeah, that's big. That's awesome, and I think it is cool, like how God, like oftentimes, like does something with us. Sometimes, like like we do cry out and we call out to God, but then sometimes God just kind of like, I don't know how to put it, but sometimes just takes us by force a little bit, gives us a little bit of a nudge, and we change for the better. But I really, yeah, that is cool, and I'm really glad, Pierce, that you're getting that. And um, if you want, guys are listening in, this is for guys, right?
yeah.
Guys, maybe talk to Pierce, but you girls listening in, like start something up, get something for girls. Heck yeah. Call Pierce. No, but that's awesome. And if you don't mind me asking, but like, what is something maybe in your life? So you talked about like how God has kind of like even just transformed this guy's life, but is there any like, it doesn't have to be like a big transformation, but is there any transformations in your life? Or like things that you, like you said, this past year has been, you've gotten closer with God. Is there any like just even subtle things that you can like look back that are a little bit different than what they were a year ago?
I would say, last year, sophomore year, not really freshman, sophomore year, like, it was pretty dark, you
Mm.
know, hung out with the wrong people, got into the wrong things, and, I wasn't with God, so I was blinded, you know, and after the whole thing happened, stuff like that, and, like, I, like, saw how my parents looked at me.
Mm-hmm.
It just like made me realize how lost I was.
Yeah.
So, obviously I felt bad, and I wanted to talk to God. I wanted to pull on him. And he made me realize you can pull on God, but you shouldn't only pull on God like during heartache, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I think I had like a lot of bad habits, like I lied a lot to my parents, wasn't very trustworthy, snuck around all the time. My grades weren't good because I didn't really try as hard as I could in school. I didn't put in the effort, and I would say when I got closer with God, it made me realize, look more towards the future. Would I
Yeah.
want my kids doing this? Would I would I react the same way if my kids had a grade like this, right?
Yeah.
And it like ended up ruining a lot of things for me, but also making me new again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Some kids said this for my group, and I know this might sound harsh, so maybe I'll explain it after, but sometimes God breaks you down to build you back up. And I don't know if he's like purposely like breaking you
Yeah.
down, like trying to hurt you, but I think sometimes life, he can use life to kind of like at least allow your focus to be turned more to him. Or like he definitely like I think touches your heart. But that's cool that you can like see. And I think that's so what's so powerful about testimonies and so powerful about just like even like being in conversation with other people about Christ is because you can talk about like, oh man, like this is what God has done in my life. And you don't need to have this big story. I think some people think you need to have this big story, but like just simply like being open and talking about Christ or Jesus and then talking with someone else. But that's awesome. I'd love to ask, is there anyone in your life like who are some of your biggest like role models? Who do you look up to? Um, you know, yeah,
Um, so honestly, I'd say probably my biggest role model is my dad.
your dad.
You know, he was in the
He's
army.
awesome.
He was in the army. Took like 2 tours in Iraq, stuff like that. And you know, I don't. He doesn't like to talk. He doesn't like to talk. He's always been like that. He doesn't like to talk. But when there's things that I hear through my mom about him, like makes me want to be like him.
Mm,
Right. Um, my, my mom said he changed a lot after he came back from war. Like he was a different person. You know, he said he talks a lot more, but doesn't like talking as much now. Stuff
yeah,
like that. But when he's like with God, it's crazy because he just talks so much, and he's like it really shows me how much pride and joy he has in his family, but also in God.
yeah,
And without my father, I don't know what I would be doing. I truly don't understand how these kids become like not successful, but like truly happy without a father.
yeah,
Because like my dad really showed me how important a father is.
yeah,
So that's what I would say my biggest role model is.
yeah. Fathers and um, I mean, I know my story's a little different. I have a stepdad now. Love you, Ron. But I didn't always have a dad. And I know my dad ain't perfect, but I mean, you guys probably know where I'm going with this, but I'm tying it back into how you guys have a perfect father in heaven, but also right here, right now, the kingdom is at hand. Like God is here with you. I think sometimes when we think of God, we think of like a God sitting on a throne, white beard, but he's more than that. He's just. We were actually talking about this in chapel this week, but like Hebrews 13:11, I believe, but it's just like God is the same yesterday, same tomorrow, same forever, basically. God is same and he loves you. And I think that's like something that like you won't for a lot of people, and I don't even think I truly grasp like how much he loves us, but I think once we do, then we can actually start walking in more freedom and just like walking into those passions that we love and we have because then we like kind of find out that like man, one, we are grateful more often and we can kind of just see everything in a new light. We can see how like man, how everything is a gift. Um, but yeah, I think do you have anything on that or anything you want to add?
Um, on like the
Well, you said something about just like how like one, you said how you can't even fathom or like you see how much like your dad here on earth, right, has done so much for you and like how much that is like how necessary and how formative that was for you to grow up and who you are and then honestly, you said that you want to like carry that on per se. Like you want to be able to be instilled in good principles so that later in your life you could go instill that in maybe your future children. Um but like, could you connect that to like your relationship with God or,
I think definitely because everybody's made up or made in the image of God. You're right.
mm-hmm.
And when I look to God, like I do think of my father, but like I gotta remember my father's not perfect. So like, sometimes I used to get mad like when my dad messed up because I would just look up to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like when you're a father, you're not gonna be perfect. And I think it just encourages other people and it also shows me why other people have role models and like why a lot of these kids who don't have fathers take their role models as a father figure,
Mm.
right? Because they need something to off for. They need something to look up to, right? That's what I think.
Yeah. I like that. I do. Kind of my next thing. Let's see. I had something in the neck. I just lost track of it. Um, but yeah, no. I think you tied it off. I don't want to go into anything more than that because like I can't say any like that was awesome. Maybe kind of transition a little bit, but you're over at Eastern Hills Church. That's awesome. How long have you been going there for?
Um, I said I've been going to Eastern Hills 5 years,
5 years.
5 years,
That's a
six
lot.
years.
Yeah, Pierce was telling me how he's going to be going just to a fight night tonight later on at church. But it seems like you have a good community over there.
Yeah,
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah,
yeah, I'd say I have a good community.
that's good. What is community to you like, and how important that is for you?
Um, Community. Well, I think for me, especially, well, we're both social guys, right?
Yeah,
And I think since we're both social guys, we're not. I'm not gonna say we're not gonna have happiness, but we're not gonna be happy sometimes because we
Mm.
don't have if we don't have friends, right?
yeah,
And I think Eastern Hills helped me a lot with that. I mean, I always had friends, social, stuff like that. But I always didn't have the best friends,
that's
right? I'd always didn't hang out with the right people. And I'll think since like basically my best friends go to the same church as me, and I've known them for like 6, 7 years, I think it just brings another brotherhood.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So that's what I would say.
yeah. I like, and I can testify to that. Like, it's. I mean, I'm a little different. Like, I don't know how to explain, but I've always been social. Like, kind of like what you're saying, but I don't feel like I had friends, and I don't mean that as like a sad but I just my story's a little different, triplet, and but regardless, like the friends that I've found, and it doesn't have to be specifically church, but like something about like friends that are believers or just even people that like genuinely just like care for you and to have your back. It's cool. I know I have had that, and like today I got to go see one of my buddies, and he had his first like amateur fight or like MMA fight, and um I don't know, like if I was in his place, he'd come and watch me. And how I know it's so rich is because like what me and like six other guys all came to show up for this one guy. And like if I'm gonna be honest, like not many guys would do that. I feel like,
Hmm.
or like I feel like that definitely showed that at least our group is like in a good place. It's like at least we show up for each other. Um, but that yeah, that's cool. Yeah, find friends, guys. If you don't have friends, come talk to Pierce. Come say what's up. That's awesome. I know you talked about football. I know, or you briefly just said football, rugby, and then you said track. But you could tell us a little bit about that. But also, kind of like, what are some of your aspirations? What are like this is junior year. In a year and a half, we'll be out of high school. Like, what are some of the things that you feel called to, or do you not even know? Like, or is there stuff that you want to do? Things like that. Like what is something maybe you want to do or you could see yourself maybe doing after high school?
Like my profession, basically.
Maybe profession or take a year. I don't know what you do.
Um, you know, I've seen God really focus me to my grades
Mm-hmm.
because I want to go to a big school,
Yeah.
and a lot of big schools are easy to get into, but a lot are hard.
Yeah.
Um, but you know how parents are with big schools. I don't want you to go there, but hopefully I can. Um, I'm hoping to study AI engineering,
What's that?
artificial intelligence engineering.
Yeah, but like what is that? I mean, that just seems like such a big thing. Like
Like ChatGPT.
you would be engineering Chat GPT.
Like that's an example. Yeah, that's an example.
Whoa, that's big stuff. I don't know how you do that. That's awesome.
And that's what I want to major in, and then after college I want to go to culinary school.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Pierce and me kind of go back, even just a few years. But I remember you saying that's awesome. You're gonna have to cook me up something sometime.
Yeah.
Are you a pretty good cook?
Yeah, I'm a cook.
Where do you get your cooking from?
Like probably my parents.
Your
Or, like, my
parents, or
family.
like, but like, is there someone specific or someone in your family who's just like kind of taught you how to cook?
Probably my dad.
Your dad?
Yeah.
He be chefing it up.
Don't ever say that. Actually.
No, don't say that. You be chefing it up. There we go. Get out of here.
No, he needs to leave.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for me?
What do you want to do in life? Well, I know. Yeah. Well, where do you want to? I know you don't want to go to college, but like after high school, what are you looking forward to?
I mean, actually, lately I've been. Last night, I don't want to like go so much into me, but I'll briefly share because like you know what? I was thinking like, man, maybe if I could share, I would. But last night I had this Holy Spirit conference. Got the T-shirt on, Holy Spirit. But and why you'll see why I bring all this up in a second. But like, I know I on the podcast I've shared how like there's ministry, there's a hope for that. But like, I guess the best way I could explain it was at this conference. I think a lot of churches they often like talk about Jesus, but do you actually experience Jesus? And I feel like that's what the church should be. Just experience Jesus, like, and how can you go day in, day out, go to one Sunday every week, or let's just say you don't go to church, but like you don't experience Jesus, like it kind of like you were saying, like it's just kind of like I think at the beginning, kind of like when you get closer to Jesus or Christ, you start to find like you just start to feel things more and you're just more aware and you're in maybe a better presence. Doesn't mean everything in your life is going well. But yeah, I want to experience Jesus more. And so why I bring this all up is, yeah, no, I'd like to go do ministry, but honestly, I really don't as of right now, because it feels like every episode of the podcast or any given time, things change for me. But as of right now, I just want to like, and I say this, and I'm not great at it, but I want to surrender to God more. I'm not perfect, and I hope something else I want to say while I get this little moment. Thank you, Pierce, for asking me this question. But like, I hope that like, I want you guys to know, just even with this whole podcast, is like, honestly, if you can get anything out of it, is like, it's not me speaking. Like, I think God can use my words, but more importantly, this is my main message, like, to like don't listen for what I say, but like actually listen for what the God of the universe has to say to you. And I feel like that's if you have questions or if you ever are wondering or you just only genuinely want to see like change in your life, I think a lot of times it's hard to go to like I think that's why sometimes church is uneventful. Like yes, we might hear a great sermon, but we're just hearing from another pastor. But I would like convictantly tell you guys hear from God, not me. But I am lucky, very blessed to have this podcast. So, but thank you, Pierce. I didn't want to make that all about me, but I thank you. Yeah. Good question. Anything else?
I think I agree with that. Like, a lot of times church can feel like a burden for kids, especially since like they go there every day, sit in the service and just go home. I think that's where inviting your friends comes in.
Yeah.
It makes church more fun, but also vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
Yeah. So I said that's like that helped me a lot.
Yeah. Like, so like bringing friends into church and like one getting that community, and then you said vulnerability. Is there like, well, how has you being vulnerable helped you?
Well, for me, I remember I went to this winter camp.
Yeah.
And we all had to go around the circle and share like two things that somebody really liked about the person. And for a lot of times I'll beat myself up because I didn't think I was good enough.
Yeah.
And me hearing everything from everybody else and then me getting to share it back to the other person, I could tell how like God was working with both of us. And if you're not willing to be vulnerable at church and stuff like that, then the Holy Spirit can't really work in you because you're just so locked. So that's what I was saying.
And I would say also, like, let's say you're at a church where if you're not vulnerable or you can't find people who actually, like, something that I've found when I'm at church, and obviously some people like, Matthew, people know you, because people who know me probably would say, well, yeah, you can't get what I'm trying to say is like, you want to try to find a church that, like, there's the Psalm 139, where can I go from your presence? Like, but like I almost see that as like, where can I go from? Like, you want a church that can hopefully, like, if they see you that they're down, that they could come in like, oh, how are you? And now obviously, if I'm saying this, some people might be like, oh, Matthew, you know everyone. I don't. But like last night, I'm at this church that I've never been to, and I'm just off to the side, and then once again, and I kind of laughed to myself. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool because once again, not you might not always find it, but like yeah, like kind of what Pierce is saying. If you can't find vulnerability at church or at a safe place, maybe find a safe place. But then also, if you can't find vulnerability in a safe place, how are you going to be vulnerable maybe in an unsafe place? And I think there is a power to vulnerability. One, because it's freeing, and then you get to hear. I mean, sometimes it's not even you being vulnerable, but as I have heard, like kind of you're saying, but like God kind of can speak through someone else's vulnerability, and then like maybe by someone else's vulnerability, you're moved, or you're like it makes you think, and so you want to find something like that. And I think I can definitely say like the people that I know who really like just leave a impact on me, they're not worried about. Well, maybe they were in the moment, but ultimately they shared whatever was on their heart, and you know, yeah, so it was by their vulnerability that I was able to be impacted. So, heck yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, Pierce, this is awesome. I mean, never mind. I don't always am directed, but is there anything in the air, anything you feeling on your heart, like just willing to share, anything that like you feel compelled to share?
Um, well, I'll probably say don't overthink.
Don't overthink.
Yeah, don't overthink. Because for me, I've seen it ruin a lot of things for me.
Mm-hmm.
Overthinking, like, do it, like, you think this, you think another thing, and then, like, just anxiety and stuff like that gets in the way because you're overthinking of the worst, stuff like that. So I'll just say don't overthink. Then, whatsoever, uh, seek first the kingdom of God, but knock and you will find.
Okay.
So
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the verse by heart.
I
No.
think it's like Thessalonians 1:8 maybe, but
I know there's something that's along the lines of like, if you have eyes, then seek. If you have ears, then hear, or something like use it like I don't know, like almost like a challenge. Like if you can see, you might as well see it. If you got ears, listen for it. Um, sure. This, I mean, never mind. Is there a moment in your life that has profoundly affected you? And it doesn't have to be a big hurrah, but is there something that you can think back to, just in anything, and kind of has made you who you are?
like a moment that I've seen God
Sure.
at work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool to hear these stories.
Honestly, I would say I see him every day.
You see them every day.
Cause I see him every day, and the most recent one is, I'm thinking, not overthinking, just trusting God and stuff like that. And I'm at the group Bible study,
Yeah.
and you know I'm having problems trusting God, and then I hear the man's testimony, and he says, you always want to seek first the kingdom of God, and I think that like really brought me because I was just thinking about it and stuff like that, thinking about it. And in the instance, I was thinking about someone, right? I was thinking about someone. And I kept hearing God in my head just say, give it time, give it time. And so, like on Instagram, the notes,
Yeah.
yeah, somebody, like my friend, I haven't talked to him in like a month or two.
Yeah.
His note just said, give it time. I was just like, and it just like brought me to, I would just say like peace with my mind.
Peace.
Yeah, so that's what I would say most recently.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are searching for peace. I know I am. And I think if we're gonna be honest with ourselves, probably all of us, even when like things are really going well, like I don't know. I think peace is just such a sought after thing. And but I pray this right now that people will start receiving that, and or God will orchestrate the right of things to happen to just allow you to have peace. Something, and I know I've shared this before, but something that I just hope to continue walking into is just like this gratitude mindset, just trying to be grateful. I know that sounds like so cliche, but be grateful because um, it's hard to worry and focus on what's not going great when you're grateful. You don't get happy. Like you shouldn't be grateful because of your happiness, but rather base your happiness off your gratefulness, because you can be happy when like things are not going well. But if you're basing your gratefulness after your happiness, I don't know. Because in a way, you could be technically grateful for everything, which it's like, then it really makes you think, oh, wow, why am I, why am I not grateful in this moment? If you are in first world Highlands Ranch or wherever you're listening to on this, but most people who are listening probably have a pretty nice home. And I'm not saying that to like guilt trip or nothing, but it's something to definitely think about, reflect on. That's awesome. Well, Pierce, is there anything more that you want to say? Is there anything, you know?
I agree with what you last said. Especially for me, especially when you're a kid,
Yeah.
like when you don't get things, you finally
Someone's
like,
mama said no.
yeah, like you're grateful until you don't get something you want, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a kid, and and you only say thank you when you get something,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, for a long time I was like that and stuff like that, and I would say like it's kind of bad, but like I would say it stopped when like I went to Valor and I saw how like rich these people are, and then like I noticed I can't get the same things as them,
Yeah.
right? And like it's kind of pretty bad, but like it just showed me like I'm not the same. None of us are the same as everybody else,
Mm.
right? And just because he does this one thing doesn't mean I can do that one thing. Especially, you're white, I'm black, right?
Yeah.
So like a lot of times I can't do the same thing you do, right? So I think that was a big thing for me.
Yeah. But also, like, I think though, what sets us apart is also in our way our greatest strength. Like, Pierce, you can go reach people that I can't reach. You know what I mean? Like, and that could be on a spiritual, like point, but also just on any
A
point.
race
Like,
point too. A
hmm?
race point too.
What?
Like a race point. Oh my
No, no, I don't.
God.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, it could be physically like, okay, like if you speak a specific language, you could reach those people because you speak that language. Let's say you spoke Spanish, I didn't. You could obviously speak Spanish to people, and I couldn't. But I just mean, there are going to be people who look at you, Pierce, and like, it was kind of interesting, but like, I was reading this poem just in class the other day, and I don't know the poem, I forgot. But it's like, you never know, but there is always someone looking at you and is taking some type of information or is taking taking some lesson from you, from either good or bad. They're taking something off of you. And so what I mean by that is like you, Pierce, there will always be people who are going to be looking at you and taking something from you because maybe they do like you, maybe they don't, I don't know, but they're going to be doing the same with me. And I think that, and then I'm going to tie it into a spiritual point, like who I'm going to go and minister. Like, you do not need to be a pastor to be a pastor. Like, you don't need to be, like, God is working through all of us and the Great Commission and all that. Like, we all have that calling. We're all called to like go and just like really show Jesus through our character. And that doesn't mean you have to be, right, a pastor, but you can go and reach people that I can't because maybe how you act, maybe your personality, who you are as a person, your spiritual gifts, things like that. And but, and I say that to empower you, Pierce, because I believe I have a feeling. It's not even a feeling. I've known you long enough, and also like your words, not mine, but like God is with you, and God is gonna be. I mean, if He's with you, then what can stand against you? And He's just gonna continue pouring into you. You might not always feel it, but I pray this, and I hope this empowers you. But also for those who are listening, because I mean, like I said, this is just an episode. This is just a podcast, but like you can go and no matter, He takes the unequipped and makes them equipped, or you don't even have to be equipped. He just will do the work. And oftentimes that's how it is. Really, all good and perfect gifts come from above. James 1:17. Got to plug my one verse in today, but heck yeah. And then lastly, a few more things, but yeah, like what about what would you say for those who are around you? And it seems like you kind of brought up, and I don't even know why, but this kind of just came to me. But like you talked about like how you've been in these friend groups, and then you obviously have seen now, like, man, maybe these aren't the best of friends. But like if you could tell them one thing, like if there was something that you would hope for them to know, um, what would be something you would say to these people Like, because obviously I feel like you get like you'd want to help them. So like, what is something like maybe that has helped you that you want to help others people with?
Something, something would be just because you think God's not there doesn't mean He's not there, right?
Mm.
That's what I think. Um, because we like beg for like hints, like can you give me a hint, God, stuff like that, and a lot of times the answer or the hint is right in front of us, and I don't think I for me I struggle with like I'll ask God for a hint, but I'll look too hard for the hint, right?
Mm.
Like anything I'll do will be like, is this a hint from God? And then like I'll try to make it out into my mind, but a lot of times you don't understand it's a hint from God until you understand it, right? So I don't, yeah, that's what I would say. Just because God's not there doesn't mean He's not there.
Just because God's not there doesn't mean he's not there.
Yeah.
He is there. That's awesome. And then lastly, because I have nothing more, unless you wanted to say something, but kind of like reflecting on kind of everything we've said and kind of just with how the episode has been going. Is there any last message that you just kind of want to tell the people who are listening and watching? Kind of what's your last message if you got one?
My last message is don't be afraid to reach out. You know, a lot of people are in dark places, but like mask it. And everybody thinks, everybody thinks they're fine, but then when they go home, they're not fine. So I'll say talking to people in communication and ask people how they're doing. Because a lot of times people only ask how the other person is doing when the other person asked them first,
Mm.
right? And a lot of people are like, it really shows the friendship because if you're only asking people how they're doing when they ask you, you're not a true friend, right? So that's what I think. My last words.
Hey, thank you, Pierce. Thank you. That's amazing. Heck yeah. Pierce Bell on the Brick House podcast. Thank you. Maybe we'll do a part 2 someday. But yeah, no, I just pray blessings over Pierce. I pray blessings over you guys. Thank you guys for sticking around for another episode. Thank you guys for everything you do. Love you guys. See you guys next week. Bye.